Here we go. Good morning. It's morning for me. Good day. Sifu Sylvain Chamberlain with you again here. Thank you so much for joining me in these lessons. Once again, I'm going to apply my own years of study in my own human fashion to make these teachings relatable to as many as I can. Hopefully that's why you're here. We're on the 10th chapter now. A chapter of the Lotus Sutra that I find to be extremely important and pivotal. A chapter that absolutely describes the entire practice of Buddhism, certainly the entire practice of Nichiren Buddhism, specifically, more broadly Lotus Sutra Buddhism, even more broadly, how to practice living as a bodhisattva in search of or seeking of or unveiling, much better word, revealing the already extant Buddha way, the Buddha mind, the transcendence of ego, and the true nature of the process of life. It's all here. Chapter 10 is amazing. So I'm going to take my time and savor every little bit of it. And if I get excited, I hope you'll stick with me because this chapter just blows my mind. So I don't know if I'll blow your mind, but I hope through discussion of this chapter, you'll be able to, now that you've studied this far, you'll be able to savor also the immense meaning behind these words. Because as we know already, the words are, language. What did, it's one of my favorite quotes. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name. He wrote Naked Lunch and, anyway, great writer. He said that virus or language is a virus from outer space. It's kind of fun, very surreal statement, but basically, as a writer, especially recognizing that words that they're very dangerous because in our human mind, our desire and attachment to thingness glues us to words, and that gets in the way of our understanding of deeper meanings and concepts that the words just superficially kind of send us toward. But with all our own little filters and issues, words are mutable. Meaning is mutable. So this is why study is important, because the more you read about a concept with several different words, the more words you have to guide you through a concept, the more slowly you will hone your thinking into a better and clearer understanding. And it may actually lead to an aha moment where you have to discard everything you've thought before in favor of the now I get it syndrome. That's just how samsara is. All right. So let's do Daimoku Shansho. So all this babbling will start to make sense. And so thank you again for being here. Thank you. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you so much for being here. Chapter 10. I'm excited. um, I might read a little bit from H. Kern's uh, translation, but honestly, this modern translation does such a good job, I'd say, of translating the meaning of the words that maybe to add complexity of the old Sanskrit terms and so forth wouldn't really do us much good. But I might jump to it. We'll see. So in this translation, chapter 10 is called Myoho Renge Kyo, of course, teachers of the law or teachers of the Dharma. Um, at that time, the world honored one addressed the 80,000 great leaders through the Bodhisattva Medicine King, saying, now, if you remember early on, he talks about the 80,000 great leaders. The clue is through the Bodhisattva Medicine King. These are the 80,000 bodhisattvas that rose from under the earth. This is a metaphor for all of those who are born in this mundane samsaric life, okay, this form. So, clue, you and I, are all bodhisattvas. Whether we choose to behave as bodhisattvas or not, that's on us. Okay? Quote, Medicine King, do you see in this assembly the innumerable gods, dragon kings, satyrs, centaurs, asuras, griffins, chimeras, pythons, humans and non-humans, as well as the monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen, those who seek to become Stravakas, students, those who seek to become Pratyeka Buddhas, teachers, or not teachers so much as Pratyeka Buddhas, who have finished their studies, and those who seek the Buddha way. I assure, here again, assurances, I assure all such beings who are before the Buddha that if they hear a single verse or a single phrase of the Myoho Renge Kyo and respond in joy, even for a single moment, they will attain supreme awakening. I'm going to stop right there. Why did I say Myoho Renge Kyo? Because the translation is Wonderful Dharma Flower Sutra. I could have said, now that's the English translation. I could have said it in the original Sanskrit, Sadhamma Pundarika Sutra. Okay. In Chinese, I think it's Moho Chi Kwan. In Korean, it's something else. Wonderful Dharma Flower Sutra is only one translation in English. There are many of this Lotus Sutra. Tendai in China, translated into Chinese, and Miaolo Dengyo Saicho, and finally Nichiren, all translated into Japanese. The translations, though, were carefully crafted by Buddhist scholars, because the characters are not typical characters of their language. They are conceptual characters, which Sanskrit was a language of not only conceptual thought, but of rhythmic and musical thought. In other words, Sanskrit was a communication through intonations and actual tones, in order to confer with the sound a meaning. This is a way of communicating that's long left the human race. But the challenge for early adopters of the teachings, Sanskrit and Pali, in their effort to translate it into writing, they had to actually create new words in order to circle around the concept that was being offered in Sanskrit. So Kumara Jiva, for instance, when he translated many of the Indian early translations, had to create new characters in Chinese in order to capture the concept being elucidated in the Pali or Sanskrit languages. So interesting note. Um, so this is a scholarship kept throughout the history of Buddhism, and this is why Myoho Renge Kyo are specific characters referencing Chinese elucidation of Indian conceptual languages to express the verbal meanings communicated by the Buddha Shakyamuni in his oral sermons. Confused yet? All of that is to say that rather than say the English translation and you not really understand what's being stated here, I'm going to substitute what we're doing, Myoho Renge Kyo, as the proper title for this teaching. Understanding that as I read this, you will get the aha moment that this is the meaning, this is the core of Shakyamuni's teaching on how we attain our Buddha mind. So I'm going to read that again, because if I read it again and you know all of this, you will see very plainly that this is like the blueprint Nichiren used to develop modern Buddhist practice. Tendai talked about it in the 6th century or 7th century. Saicho, Dengyo, all these scholars, the Bodhisattva way. How do we practice the Bodhisattva way? Chapter 10 is the manual. Teachers of the law, teachers of the Dharma, those are Bodhisattvas. Who are Bodhisattvas? They're the 80,000 Bodhisattvas that rose from the earth. Us. All of us. I assure all such beings who are before the Buddha that if they hear a single verse or a single phrase of Myoho Renge Kyo, and now here's the attitude part, and respond in joy even for a single moment, that's all attitude, isn't it? They will attain supreme awakening. You will awaken your Buddha mind. So there's the whole idea of chanting, right? You recite this, and you're going to hear this over and over and over again. You've already heard it in Perfection of Wisdom and in other sutras that you have to keep, read, copy, recite, spread, right? Again, addressing Medicine King, the Buddha said, what's more, after the extinction of the Tathagata, when I'm gone, when this human personage that has been, you've attached this enlightenment to, is gone, when you finally, in other words, get it that Buddha is your mind, not me. If there is anyone who hears even a single phrase or a single verse of the Myoho Renge Kyo and responds in joy for even a single moment, I assure that one also of supreme awakening. So you see, it's not about me, he's saying. It's about you and the revealing of your own Buddha mind. If you just hear Myoho Renge Kyo, you will directly, and your attitude is of joy because you're a seeker, you will immediately sense your Buddha mind. Again, if there are any who receive and embrace, read, recite, intone, explain, or copy even a single verse of the wonderful Dharma Flower Sutra of Myoho Renge Kyo, or look upon this sutra with reverence as if it were the Buddha himself, or make offerings to it in various ways with flowers, incense, necklaces, powdered incense, paste incense, incense for burning, silk canopies, flags, banners, robes, or music, as well as revering it with palms together, you should understand, Medicine King, that these people have already made offerings to 10 trillion Buddhas, and under those Buddhas have worked to fulfill their great vow. And because they have sympathy for the living attitude, they have been born here among people. Why am I here? How did I get here? Because you have sympathy for living beings. Because you're a bodhisattva. Because you're a bodhisattva of the earth. And a bodhisattva is compassionate to all living things. And all living things are Myoho Renge Kyo. You can go forwards and backwards to this. Chapter 10 is amazing. And it's Nichiren's entire blueprint for practice. When he says, if you look upon this sutra as though it was the Buddha itself, what is Gohonzon? Gohonzon is a representation of all of the characters, the main characters of the teachings of the Lotus Sutra of Myoho Renge Kyo. In case you forgot, Myoho Renge Kyo is what's inscribed down the very center in very large characters. This is what it's all about, Myoho Renge Kyo. When we sit in front of the Gohonzon and we chant, we intone our own Buddha nature, and we have it as a visual reflection to penetrate our mind, our ego mind, our earthly mind, our samsaric mind, and we hear, we see, we feel our Buddha nature, Myoho Renge Kyo. And as we chant, as I've heard it said, chant till you feel the joy. Isn't that what he's talking about? If you take joy in this recitation for just a moment, you will definitely awaken your Buddha mind. You'll feel it. You'll know it. You'll sense it. Now, hang on to it. That's more difficult. But absolutely guaranteed, if you look upon the Buddha, if you look upon Myoho Renge Kyo, if you focus on it, if you appreciate it, embrace it, share it, as we're doing now, you cannot avoid your Buddha mind. It is fundamental. Everything else is just fluff. What we truly are, the energy of everything in the universe, Myoho Renge Kyo. Because if any good son or daughter embrace, read, recite, explain, or copy even a single phrase of the Myoho Renge Kyo, or make offerings to it in various ways with flowers, incense, necklaces, powders, paste, incense, so on and so forth, as well as revering it with palms together, these people will be looked up to and honored by the whole world. Offerings should be made to them as if they were Tathagatas. You should understand that these people are great bodhisattvas who having attained supreme awakening, and out of compassion for living beings, are willing to be born in this world, where they can explain Myoho Renge Kyo and proclaim it everywhere. How much more true is this of those who are able to receive and embrace this entire sutra, and in various ways make offerings to it. Chills. You should understand, Medicine King, that these people have relinquished the rewards for their pure deeds by themselves. and that after my extinction, out of sympathy for living beings, they will be born in an evil age and proclaim this sutra everywhere. Is this not the evil age? He's described the 2,500 years after his passing. Here we are, the age of greed, anger, and stupidity, a lot of ignorance, and here we are born into it, bodhisattvas of the earth, all of us. After my extinction, if any of these good sons or good daughters are able, even in secret, to teach to one person even one phrase of Myoho Renge Kyo, then you should understand that they are emissaries of the Tathagata, sent by the Tathagata to do the work of the Tathagata. How much more true this is of those who teach this sutra for others everywhere before great crowds of people. Medicine King, even if some wicked person out of evil intent appears before the Buddha and unceasingly curses and reviles the Buddha for a whole eon, that person's offenses will be rather light. Why? Because they're ignorance. But if anyone, even with a single ill word, curses or denigrates lay people, or monks, or nuns, who read and recite the Myoho Renge Kyo, the offense will be very heavy. Medicine King, you should understand that those who read and recite the Myoho Renge Kyo have put on the adornments of the Buddha and are carried on the shoulders of the Tathagata. Wherever they go, they should be greeted wholeheartedly with palms together. They should be revered, given offerings, honored, and praised. Flowers, incense, necklace, powdered incense, paste incense, incense for burning, silk canopies, flags and banners, robes, edibles and dainties, and music, the finest things available among the people, should be given to them as offerings. Treasures from heaven should be scattered over them, and offerings of piles of treasures from heaven should be given to them. Why? Because such people enjoy teaching the Dharma, and if anyone hears it, even for a moment, they attain supreme awakening. Myoho Renge Kyo, my friends. I was talking to the wonderful woman that shelters me here this morning, and she always asks, her mind is constantly focused on how others will hear her, but these teachings, she's always concerned that people will not hear them correctly. And this chapter says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If they don't hear it correctly, it's their loss. They're ignorant. But if even one person, even in secret, hears this with a seeking spirit, a seeking mind, they immediately will reveal their own Buddha wisdom, their own Buddha mind, right? And that's what carries them further in practice. And she said to me, well, doesn't that make that sound like magic words? Man, that just, I did not want to hear that. But I realized this is why she's in my life. Because as much as that bothered me, and it bothered me because she's been a student of this practice for over 10 years now. So to hear those words coming from her was upsetting. Then I had to remember, oh, right, she's being my teacher. She's not saying this so much for herself, although there may be a little bit of her doubt in there. That's okay. We all have it. But the question was important because I've had this hurled at me before online. Like people say, I'm not going to chant magic words, to attain enlightenment. And I had to explain to my friend, the way I would explain it to anyone, and now because I think that lesson was important, I will share it with you. This is the fallacy of language. This is, this was Shakyamuni's own caution when Buddha in the Lankavatara Sutra really kind of chastised a bodhisattva for constantly haranguing him about the way a sentence was worded. And he finally said, look, it's like a finger pointing at the moon. If you just stare at the finger, you'll never see the glorious moon. You'll never get it because you're so obsessed with the words, you're not stopping to digest the superficiality of language, but understand or dig underneath the language and the words to perceive the meaning, the concept that's being explored, the rudimentary samsaric language event that's being used to mechanically bring you to a greater understanding. It's the meaning that's important. The words are just, they're a necessary encumbrance of samsara. They're the tools, the fallacy, the faulty tools of our samsaric mind. Don't pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to the hammer. Drive the nail. Look for the meaning. Don't get stuck on the words, because all words in the end are magical. They're magical in the sense that they aren't real things. They're a bunch of fingers pointing at a real thing. So the words themselves aren't the meat of the matter. If you can perceive the meaning behind the words, then the words become tokens to invoke all of that meaning. So in that way, the words can be incredibly important. Is that magical? If I tell you, watch out, and you stand out of the way of a train coming, is that magical? So, we have a lot of ways as human beings to denigrate things. There's that attitude thing again. So if you want to call Myoho Renge Kyo magical, at least understand why you're calling it magical. Because if those words, if you study and understand the meaning, the teaching, the volume of knowledge that comes beneath those words, that those words are a container of, like when you get super scared and you just, for no other reason than you're reaching out for life itself and you scream, "Mother!" Not everyone would do that, but for those, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. The word mother is magical because it invokes every single thought, feeling, emotion, concept felt or desired and unexperienced. Every thought that you've had associated with your concept mother, right? Or dad, or son, or daughter. Magical words. Because it's not about the word, it's about what the word invokes. So, I will continue to say in my samsaric life that there's nothing magical about Myoho Renge Kyo. But if that's the way you want to describe it, at least understand what you're describing. Because Myoho Renge Kyo is an invocation. I like that word better. Because invocation has with it an attached meaning, magical words, an attached meaning that says there's merit behind this. There's a whole hysteresis behind this. There's a concept I'm nailing down and opening up, a storehouse of meaning. And I have videos on Myoho Renge Kyo, 5 characters that represent the 5 periods of all of Shakyamuni's teachings. There's a lot of ways. Tendai Chi spent a great deal of his entire Buddhist research on defining the meaning of those characters, the significance of those characters, the invention of those characters. Myoho Renge Kyo. So yeah, I resist the dismissal that they're magic or magical. But on the other hand, I could say, okay, let's discuss what is magic. Let's look at language entirely. Let's look at what meaning is, because that's what us poor, lowly little human beings are trying to do in communicating with one another, to reassemble our unity of being, right? So here it is, now in verse form. If you want to dwell in the Buddha way and gain natural wisdom, see, this isn't supranatural, it's natural wisdom, it's reality. You should always be diligent about making offerings to those who receive and embrace the Dharma flower, the Myoho Renge. If you want to attain all-inclusive wisdom quickly, you should receive and embrace this sutra and make offerings to others who receive and embrace it. Always with others. This is Bodhisattva practice. I'm telling you, it's the manual. If anyone is able to receive and embrace Myoho Renge Kyo, you should know that that one was sent by the Buddha, who has compassion for living beings. You were sent by the Buddha. You're a Bodhisattva. Those who are able to receive and embrace Myoho Renge Kyo, having given up the Pure Land, have been born here out of sympathy for the living. There it is. Why are you here? What is the Pure Land? You get in that one sentence, that one phrase out of that stanza, have given up the Pure Land. Because where is the Pure Land? It's not in this world of attachment. It is Buddha, the Buddha mind. When you leave the Buddha mind for the samsaric conditions, all of this precipitates. Remember Wuji, Taiji, and Yin Yang, the Nidana, Wuji being quiescent energy, a place of potential, no differentiations, no manifestations of anything, just potential energy. Becomes kinetic, in that kineticism precipitates things, phenomena, from that, instantiations. That's a it's a manifestation from potential. It's no longer potential because it's manifest, and it has its own momentum, its own energy, kineticism. That's us. We leave the Pure Land of potential to enter this samsaric identity. Why? To rescue others doing the same thing and redirect them to their Buddha mind, their Buddha way, so that when they leave this samsaric illusion, they will comfortably reintegrate into potential. This is the circle of life. This is why Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism specifically, certainly Lotus Sutra Buddhism, is talked about as a circular practice. Okay? Know that such people, free to be born where they want, choose to be in this evil age to teach the unexcelled law, Dharma, everywhere, with flowers and incense from heavens, robes of heavenly jewels, here's the hyperbole, and heaps of wonderful treasures from heaven. You should make offerings to such Dharma preachers, Bodhisattvas. In the evil age after my extinction, those who are able to embrace this sutra should be greeted and revered with palms together as if making offerings to the world-honored one. With the best of delicacies and abundant sweets and every kind of clothing, you should make offerings to such followers of the Buddha in hope of hearing even a moment of their preaching. In future ages, if anyone is able to receive and embrace this sutra, I will send them to be among people, to do the work of the Tathagata. If anyone in the course of an eon always harbors evil intentions and with anger maligns the Buddha, that person will be committing an extremely grave sin. But if anyone directs evil words toward those who read, recite, and uphold this Dharma Flower Sutra, Myoho Renge Kyo, that one sin is still greater. Anyone who seeks the Buddha way and with palms together in my presence praises me with innumerable verses for an eon will acquire innumerable blessings. This is because they praise the Buddha. But for anyone who praises those who uphold this sutra, good fortune will be even greater. For 8 billion eons, with the most wonderful colors and sounds, and what is most pleasing to smell, taste, and touch, make offerings to those who embrace this sutra, this teaching. If you make such offerings and hear the Dharma even for a moment, you will rejoice and say, I have gained great benefit. Medicine King, I tell you now, of the sutras I have preached, among all of them, Myoho Renge Kyo is the greatest. Then the Buddha spoke once again to Medicine King Bodhisattva, the Great One, saying, My sutras are innumerable tens of millions of billions, whether already taught, now being taught, or to be taught in the future. Among all of them, this Myoho Renge Kyo is the most difficult to believe and the most difficult to understand. The straight Nichiren quotes this all the time. Medicine King, this sutra is the storehouse of the hidden core of the Buddhas. It must not be distributed or carelessly given to people. So if you're inspired so far to just go run out in parking lots and tell people Myoho Renge Kyo, like I've seen some organizations do, here's an admonition against that. You kind of have to qualify, but that's dangerous because your ego can get involved here. But it must not be distributed or carelessly given to people. It has been protected by Buddha's world-honored ones. From ancient times until now, it has never been openly preached. And since this sutra has aroused much resentment and envy while the Tathagata is still alive, how much worse, how much more will it arouse after his passing? So, in a way, people might criticize what I'm doing. The way I justify it, if it's a justification, more the way I see it, I don't advertise this station amongst the public. I am on social media, but you have to friend me to get my, I don't just offer this to everyone. Only my friends will see this. I don't know all of you. I have thousands of friends, but those are friends, those are people who choose to connect with me because of who I am, what I say, and what they enjoy on my espousals about Buddhism and art. So right away, it's kind of a qualified group. I'm very opinionated. I'm very much centered on Buddhism and nonviolence and Buddhist values, and I make them known in every way I know how. And so if people don't like what I have to say, they're not going to friend me or they're going to unfriend me. I've unfriended a few who I've found have just been in my social media to cause trouble. See, we all do that. So yeah, I've been attacked in many ways, and I've left those places of attack, and over the years, less and less. I have much less problems now than I did early on, because I think my group of friends, as you are rather qualified. So I think that I'm following this advice. I'm being compassionate and looking for people who are seeking so I can give them good information, while at the same time occasionally running into people who want to vilify me less and less over time. And I think that's because of my practice. I mean, after all, part of his exhortation is not only to read, recite, but to copy it and to teach it, to spread it. So how can you spread it without taking a risk? Hopefully, like yourselves, people who are seeking these kinds of answers will just find me. But they can't find me unless I put myself in some sort of a presence, right? This is the whole reason I'm born here on this earth as a human, same as you. So it comes back to attitude, right? We must be mindful, there's that word, of attitude, both ours and those around us. Surround yourself with good friends. Don't let bad friends become part of your entourage, because they will poison the well. They will begin to influence you. And okay, these are all cliches because they're truths. Medicine King, you should know that after the Tathagata's extinction, those who are able to copy, embrace, read, recite, make offerings to, and teach this sutra for the sake of others will be covered by the Tathagata with his robe, and will be protected and kept in mind by the Buddhas now in other worlds. So there it is. They will have great power of conviction, strong mind, the power of aspiration, and the power of good character. You should know that they will live with the Tathagata, and the Tathagata will touch their heads with his hand. Medicine King, in every place where this sutra is taught, or where it is read, or where it is recited, or where it is copied, or even where a roll of it is kept, one should put up a stupa of the 7 precious materials, making it very high, spacious, and well adorned. But there is no need to put remains in it. At that time, relics were big. There's no need to put remains in it. The reason is that the whole body of the Tathagata will already be in it, because it's Myoho Renge Kyo. Such a stupa should be revered, honored, and praised with offerings of all kinds of flowers, incense, garlands, silk canopies, banners, flags, music, and hymns. If anyone seeing such a stupa worships and makes offering to it, you should know that they will come nearer to supreme awakening. This is my school. This is why I built the Kwun, the Threefold Lotus Kwun. It is my stupa. It is where I have enshrined a great Gohonzon in a great altar. And I have flowers and Bodhi fig trees growing in there. It's a place where I can practice and invite you to practice with me. It's a place that was built entirely of donation. Thank you, Frank Dixon, my friend from California, a great artist. Medicine King, though there are many people, both lay people and monks, who walk in the Bodhisattva way, if they're not able to see, hear, read, recite, copy, embrace, and make offerings to this Myoho Renge Kyo, you should know that they are not yet walking well in the Bodhisattva way. But if any of them hear this sutra, then they will be able to walk well in the Bodhisattva way. If any living beings who seek after the Buddha way either see or hear this Myoho Renge Kyo, and after hearing it, believe, understand, and embrace it, then you should know that they are nearer to supreme enlightenment, awakening. Medicine King, it is like a man who is extremely thirsty and in need of water, and searches for it by digging on a high plain. So long as he sees only dry earth, he knows that water is still far away, but he does not cease digging, and in time sees damp earth, and then gradually reaches mud. Then he is determined to go on, knowing that the water must be near. Bodhisattvas are also like this. If they have not heard nor understood or not been able to study and put into practice this Myoho Renge Kyo, you should know that such people are still far from supreme awakening. But if they hear, understand, ponder, and study it, and put it into practice, you may be certain that they are nearer supreme awakening. The reason for this is that the supreme awakening of every bodhisattva belongs to this sutra. This sutra opens the gateway of skillful means and reveals the principle of the true nature of things. Opens the gateway of skillful means. And this is my whole mission in practice, to use my own skillful means, my own way of communicating, to reach others like yourself. This is why you and I are connected. Because whatever people might say about the way that I teach, if it's reaching you, then it is the way of teaching that you need to hear. It's that simple. We're connected very deeply. The reason for this is that the supreme awakening of every bodhisattva belongs to this sutra. This sutra opens the gateway of skillful means and reveals the principle of the true nature of things. The treasure house of this Myoho Renge Kyo is deep and hidden and so far away that no human being can reach it. But now, in order to teach, transform, and develop bodhisattvas, the Buddha has opened it up. Medicine King, if any bodhisattva responds with surprise, doubt, or fear from hearing this Myoho Renge Kyo, you should know that this is a bodhisattva who has only recently started out on this way. If any Shravaka responds with surprise, doubt, or fear from hearing this Myoho Renge Kyo, you should know that this is an extremely arrogant person. Now there's a distinction there. An ordinary person who first discovers this and might be stunned by it or fear it or react to it or call it magic words, they're just ignorant. They don't know. They're just starting out. They're seeking. But if they're Shravaka, somebody who's dedicated their lives to learning Buddhism and the Buddhist teachings, and they respond that way, then their ego's in the way. They become very arrogant. They think they know what they don't. It's a big difference. Medicine King, after the extinction of the Tathagata, if there are good sons or good daughters who want to teach this Myoho Renge Kyo for the four groups, how should they teach it? Such good sons or good daughters should enter the room of the Tathagata, put on the robe of the Tathagata, sit on the seat of the Tathagata, and then teach this sutra everywhere for the four groups. Now, isn't that what I'm trying to do? And I encourage you to do. And is, in fact, all of us are encouraged to do. This is the Buddha's instruction manual. To enter the room of the Tathagata is to have great compassion for all living beings. To wear the robe of the Tathagata is to be gentle and patient. Well, that's a tough one for me, but I am who I am, right? I keep evolving, but to sit on the seat of the Tathagata is to contemplate the emptiness of all things. One should dwell in peace with all three, and then, never becoming lazy or careless, teach this Myoho Renge Kyo everywhere to bodhisattvas and the four groups. Remember the four groups, right? Men and women, monks, and men and women, lay people. Medicine King, I will send magically conjured messengers to other realms to gather people together to hear this law. I will also send conjured monks, nuns, and male and female lay people to hear the Dharma preached. All these conjured people, hearing the Dharma, will receive it in strength, conviction, and obey it completely. If a preacher of the Dharma is in an empty, secluded place, I will send many gods, dragons, demons, spirits, centaurs, asuras, and others to hear the preaching of the Dharma. Though I will be in a different land, from time to time I will make it possible for preachers of the Dharma to see my body. If they forget any detail of the sutra, I will tell it to them so they can recite the sutra correctly and fully. At that time, the world-honored one wanting to proclaim this teaching once again spoke in verse. So that last part. Though I'm in a different land, from time to time I will make it possible for preachers of the Dharma to see my body. If they forget any detail of the sutra, I will tell it to them so they can recite the sutra correctly and fully. I think that's a reference to our teachers. I think that's a reference to what Ms. Sandra, my gracious host here in this home, on this land. I think that's her function in my life. Not all the time, but certainly from time to time, to say something that forces me to reconsider my thoughts. We all have those in our lives, don't we? Whether we listen to them or not, though, that's a different story. If you want to be rid of laziness and carelessness, you should listen to this sutra. Getting to hear it is difficult, and receiving it in conviction is difficult as well. A thirsty person needing water who digs on a high plain and sees only dry earth knows water is still far away. But with moist earth and mud gradually appearing, he is assured the water is near. Medicine King, you should know that this is the way people are. Those who do not hear the Myoho Renge Kyo are far from Buddha wisdom. But if they hear this profound sutra, which determines the Dharma for Shravaka, and is the king of all sutras, and hearing it, truly ponder over it, you should know that those people are near the wisdom of a Buddha. If people are to teach this sutra, let them enter the Tathagata's room, put on the Tathagata's robe, and sit on the Tathagata seat. Facing the multitude without fear, let them teach it clearly everywhere. With great compassion as their room, gentleness and patience as their robe, and the emptiness of all things as their seat, doing this, they should teach the Dharma. When they teach this sutra, if anyone speaks ill of them or abuses them or attacks them with swords, sticks, tiles, or stones, they should think of the Buddha and be patient. If tens of millions of billions of lands I appear with a pure lasting body and in innumerable hundreds of millions of eons teach the Dharma for all the living. After my extinction, if anyone is able to teach this sutra, I will send the 4 magically conjured groups, monks and nuns, the pure men and women, to make offerings to the Dharma teachers, to lead living beings and assemble them to hear the Dharma. If people seek to attack the teachers with swords, sticks, or tiles, or stones, I will send conjured people to guard and protect them. If anyone preaches the Dharma in an empty, secluded place, or in a quiet place where no human voice is heard, and reads and recites this sutra there, then I will appear to them with a pure and radiant body. If they forget sentences or words, I will tell them so that they can be thoroughly effective. Whenever people with such virtues either teach the 4 groups or read and recite the sutra in seclusion, they will always see me. When such a person is in an empty place, I will send gods, dragon kings, satyrs, demons, spirits, and others to come together to hear the Dharma. Such people will delight in teaching the Dharma and analyze it without hindrance, because Buddhas protect and keep them in mind. They will be able to lead the many to rejoice. Whoever is close to the Dharma teacher will quickly gain the Bodhisattva way, and one who becomes a follower of such a teacher will see as many Buddhas as the sands of the Ganges. I'm actually in awe that I got through that entire chapter in one video. I mean, that is meat and potatoes, fellow Westerners. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you. Thank you. I can't say anything else. Next up, chapter 11. But chapter 10, wow. Thanks for listening.